We talked about WrestlePalooza, but now let's talk about something else that happened this week that's got everybody crying, trendsetter. It's got the IWC going, oh no, they're taking it away from us. You sold out, WWE, you sold out. Of course, that is, they found out something that, we've been knowing for the last 10 years, that WrestleMania is going to the Saudis. It's going to Riyadh in 2027. That's right, guys. You have a 1.5 year notice to get your packages, to get everything sorted out so you can go to Saudi Arabia. And guess what? HSB has been approved for credentials to Saudi Arabia. Our first ever trip to Saudi Arabia. I cannot wait to be in that desert heat, get on those camels, and head over to Riyadh and cover WWE for HSP and give us a shot. I just can't on that.
You're the only one looking forward to that right now.
On that. But I mean, finding that out, no surprise, because you knew that this was leading up to them making this press conference, and we saw Crown Jewel and the Greatest Royal Rumble, and this has been something that's going on for the last 10 years. What's the other one? The Night of Champions, all that stuff just kind of was building up to this, and then it finally hit, and now everybody's crying. Everyone feels like they're taking WrestleMania away from us, and I guess you kind of knew that this was coming, but of course, still that WrestleMania 43 announcement, I was not taken aback. I was not disappointed. This is, at the end of the day, this is a company, TKO, which we made it very clear that they're after the money, as much money as they can. They want to squeeze every single juice of this WWE machine, and no surprise, instead of this going to Saudi Arabia.
No question. I mean, I thought right from the beginning, prior to the previous administration, that it was, there was the deal with Saudi Arabia and they're going to hold events there, and they wanted to make it feel like a WrestleMania feel for these events. You just mentioned, Crown Jewel, Clash of Champions,
Night of Champions.
Night of Champions, King and Queen of the Ring, they wanted to have there as well. Listen, it was just a matter of time what was going to happen. I thought now with the merger for TKO, it was going to happen sooner than later. What really set it off for me thinking it was going to happen a lot quicker than we anticipated was the fact that when you looked at all the events WWE was doing overseas and the crowd reaction they're getting, I'm separating Saudi Arabia from the equation right now. There was always at that point talks more than ever before, because always talked about, but never really thought in a serious way. Can you have WrestleMania outside the United States? And then you saw that European tour they had where literally after WrestleMania 40, it seemed like every other PLE was in, Europe, in someplace, France, London, you name it, right? Germany. And the excitement there, which kind of made the fact that when they came back to the States, like when you saw the PLEs there, like the crowd was like really dormant. I even remember saying to you, man, listen, when they go back to USA, they got a lot to live up for right now, because they're chanting names. They're going crazy for minuscule things. It was just brought the type of atmosphere around it. And now with this, it just makes sense. But I'm sure a lot of people were upset because they're thinking, France or London. They want London for WrestleMania. First WrestleMania going to be outside the United States is going to be Saudi Arabia. I think that deal was working. I could be wrong on my numbers here, but over 100 million. So listen, you got to go towards the money. It's a business decision. And you know what? You may not like it, but it makes sense for the WWE right now.
So I think, honestly, that people are just upset because it's in Saudi Arabia. Let's be honest, that if it was in London, okay, you make a trip to London and you go across the pond and you head over and you go to the UK and you have some fish and chips and you go see wrestling at Wembley Stadium. That's what everybody wanted. That's what everybody thought was going to happen. Wembley deserves it. The UK fans you look at how much AEW does over there in Wembley. Imagine what WWE can do there for 2 nights. But because it's in Saudi, that's the reason why I think people are upset. They have this, I guess, stereotype of Saudi Arabia. I don't blame them, because obviously, because of political beliefs and the way, obviously, the whole treatment of women over there, which from, you call it propaganda or not, that it's improving, and obviously that the female wrestlers have a strong hold here because they've been part of the advancement in Saudi Arabia. I can't get into the political stuff because, again, I would be foolish to even try to talk about those kind of policies. But I'm talking about a place that is buying everything, trendsetter. I mean, they got Tom Brady doing a flag football tournament because they can freaking afford it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they have tons of money, oil money or blood money that everyone's talking about. So they can buy whatever they want. I mean, they just did a in Las Vegas, they had the Crawford and Canelo fight, right? And 70,000 fans, over $40 million in gate. I believe. So right now, the center of sports is going to be in Saudi Arabia. And I think that the patriotic fans are upset because it's Saudi Arabia, right? I think that's the main point. I think that if it was in London, people would be happy. People think they deserve it. But because we have this stereotype of Saudi Arabia, they were flooded on their YouTube with "you sold out, you sold out, you sold out." And you got to think, Trendsetter, too, that it's got to be a political thing too. There's a stereotype that we have of Saudi Arabia, and I think that's another reason why we're so opposed to a WrestleMania or them getting it first, because we don't think, we in quotations marks, don't think that Saudi Arabia deserves it. Let's be honest, right?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, the reason why people are upset, fact, is that it's in Saudi Arabia. All right, I get it, but the same people are saying you sold out. Let's be honest, they're going to buy in because these are the same individuals that complain about the pricing of the tickets that you and I have talked about before. How TKO is continually pricing up their sales and going to continually do that coming next year as well, and leading to 2027 as well. Can only imagine how much that ticket's going to cost, and people are still going to buy in. So until there's this huge thing that this huge uproar in the internet wrestling community of hating the fact that in Saudi Arabia, the first WrestleMania is going to be outside the United States, will be there rather than a lot of people wanted to be in London, for example. Yeah, they just hate the location. That's what it is. And for people who are like, oh, you sold out WWE, it's easy for me to say it, right? But until you own a company like that and that kind of money's thrown at you, whether you consider it to be, blood money or whatever the case might be, until you can make that decision, you can hate all you want and you could say you sold out. But for those same individuals, so many other people are going to be buying into it. And especially around that area, we've seen the success of, the Greatest Royal Rumble, Crown Jewel, all those PLE events. Let's see if WrestleMania even brings more of a revenue. And if it does, and it's successful, which I'm sure they're hoping it to be because of all the money being thrown their way.
See, Trent said, I don't even think they care about revenue. I just think, hey, I have all this money, I can buy it. They want to do this card where, and again, too, where people are upset is because now that
You
they
mean
can
Saudi
buy it,
Arabia or WWE? Because it's money for them.
it's money for WWE. It's about $250 million that WWE is getting from Saudi Arabia to do WrestleMania. But I'm telling you that Saudi doesn't care if they make a profit. To them, this is just, we have the money. We want WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia. We want a sporting event. This is what we've always wanted.
No, I wasn't talking about Saudi Arabia making a profit, Jeff. I was talking about WWE making a profit.
Yeah, I get that, but I think it's to where Saudi Arabia does not care what happens. They can make $0 on this, and they're going to continue to get it. They want whatever they want right now. They can get. Obviously, we talked about the whole football players that they're getting there. They can get whatever they want there. They want there to be a center of boxing. They want to be the center of soccer. All this stuff over there. And if they can too, I wanted to ask you. I want to go in two different directions here because this is something I got to give credit to Gorilla Position, which is a great podcast talk show. And this is a tweet that they said. Basically, if Turkey Sheikh is willing and able to spend obscene amounts of money with WWE annually for their tentpole PLEs like he's done with Rumble 26, Mania 27, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that TKO would essentially sell WrestleMania to the Saudis, so it happens there every year. It would be the 40 plus decade long institution of the U.S. WrestleMania model. But if the price is right, I believe they'd be willing to do it. Meanwhile, WWE would simply create a new replacement. Meanwhile, WWE would create a simple replacement annual flagship PLE brand to the U.S. market, and its name, WrestlePalooza. Just saying. That is something that you don't think that they would do it, but it's not Vince McMahon. It's TKO. And you talk about a big name. You talk about how much money you could sell the name of WrestleMania, and the Saudis would want that. They would jump at it in a heartbeat. And all the fans, could you imagine the fans here, the uproar of selling WrestleMania and us having, I think the worst thing is us having to adjust and call our event WrestlePalooza, which I'm not a big fan of the name. I know CM Punk isn't, but could you imagine if you think TKO would be willing to sell the name WrestleMania to the Saudis?
100%. What you just said makes absolutely 100% sense. Do I think it's right? Do my personal opinion, would I want that to happen? Absolutely not. When you think of WrestleMania, you're so connected to it here in the States, but like from a business standpoint, like I said, whatever works for them, and there's always a price. To quote the $1 Million Man, everyone's got a price. In the scenario here, that could possibly happen. I could see it, because then why would they bring up the name? And you and I chuckled about it because we kept thinking about our ECW days, where there was a thing called ECW WrestlePalooza, and now they're naming this. So it starts to kind of make sense, because if you're going to kind of go that direction, which I think is a possibility, and you sell the rights to WrestleMania out to the Saudis for God knows how long for the right price, hey, we need something to substitute it. WrestlePalooza, we use the name Mania. So as far-fetched, as ridiculous as it might sound to some people, to me, I could see it happening. I hope it doesn't happen anytime soon, but I could see it happen.
It's not going to happen next year or this year or 2 years from now, but the price is right. Saudi Arabia will get WrestleMania the name, and we'll have two separate shows. It's just the evolution of the times. You think you're going from one enemy that you know in Vince to another enemy that you're willing to trust and give him the benefit of the doubt. And there was that honeymoon phase where we're like, oh, after all the accusations on Mystic Man, we're like, oh my God, this is a breath of fresh air. Hunter, Triple H is on behind the creative. It's more chance for the talent. And then obviously we start trickling down to, oh, it's too long. We're SmackDown. Raw has been boring. We're getting the same kind of main events. Now people are, even no matter what Vince has been accused of, now you hear the people, well, if Vince had this back, it'd be more family orientated. Once the prices start going up and it's going up and going up, you're missing that enemy that you knew before that you were complaining about, but now you wish you kind of took it back. All I'm saying is that whatever you think of the man, Mystic Man, a lot of people in the last month or so have been clamoring for him. I wish he was back. I wish that it was at old school. And mind you, you had some problems with Vince back then too, with his booking and everything like that. But how crazy is it that you go to the enemy that you knew and you leave to the enemy that you don't know, and now you want to go back, right?
It's not far-fetched to me to believe that. How many times have we complained about something like, oh, we're so sick and tired of Brock Lesnar. He's gone. Now he's back. And obviously people are upset about it. And we'll talk about it in a few when we break down the card for WrestlePalooza. And he became a commodity. Oh, he doesn't defend the title when they had the Universal title every single night or every single PLE. Not because he's special. He was an attraction at that point. Still is, in my opinion. And then Roman Reigns, oh, this title reign is too long. Oh, you're burying other talent. Then what happened? Roman Reigns left. And as soon as he left, people chanted, we want Roman. Well, you had him for 3 years and you're so sick and tired of him that you wanted somebody else to take the title and move on and put a new face behind the company. And now you want Roman back. And now you're not happy with the current champion or champions or whoever they are, right? Everyone's always going to complain about something. Listen, to me, despite the fact of the deals that were going on with the old regime with Vince McMahon, my biggest thing was I felt Vince was just out of touch with the fan base. Now, we had that honeymoon phase with Triple H and Nick Khan, and obviously the culmination of it was the WrestleMania 40 with finishing the story. And like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then every other PLE after that was exciting going forward. But then it started kind of turning the opposite way. It kind of went 180. And then all of a sudden, I was it's getting really difficult for me to get excited for these. And, if you're Triple H or Nick Khan, the defense is going to be, well, for Triple H standpoint, it's like, well, they all can't be home runs. It's a long story. And, it's been kind of boring because last year's WrestleMania build up was nothing. And I'm not trying to compare it to the last year's, but it wasn't really a good build up. It was really difficult for you and I to get excited or mark out for these storylines that were leading into WrestleMania 41. So, hope better luck next time for 42, which is going to happen again next year. But listen, from your standpoint, Jeff, when you look at it and compare both regimes, right? And now we've seen enough of Triple H and Nick Khan and what's going on with TKO and Vince. Would you consider going back to Vince if that was the scenario?
Only because I could afford to go. Basically, that's the main reason. I'm not gonna lie, Trendsetter. I'm not gonna be here and stand on a pedestal and look down on Vince McMahon for his fault. Sick for what he did. All that stuff that comes out. We're still waiting for this trial to happen. God knows when that's gonna happen. So more stuff is gonna come out. Not condoning anything that the man's done, but I would want him back in a heartbeat simply because of the ticket prices. Ticket prices are obscene right now. I don't even want. I don't even want to go to some of these events too, because again, it just prices you out, and I feel bad for the families, which is why we're going to get in touch with real quick. We're going to talk about AEW real quick because they're going to have All Out, and they also were in the news this week as well, because there's a calling for, hey, you're taking WrestleMania away from us in the States. we need a void. There's a void. What's going to happen? No, it's going to be like for the other smaller companies that piggyback off of Mania. What's going to happen to the economy here as far as wrestling for April or March or whatever WrestleMania is? There's going to be a void, and there's a chance for Tony Khan to fill this void. Listen, we know TKO is about the money. They don't, they are about the money. And I talked to you last week saying, hey, this is a perfect opening for AEW to not beat WWE because they're not going to do that, but to take away the family aspect of WWE because that's what they were. They're about the families, right? They're about the kiddies. But now, they want the cash. But here's a perfect chance. Everyone's saying, Tony, please, you've got to come save us. You got to save us in 2027. You got to have an event for all wrestling fans here in the States because people flock to the States. They save up for WrestleMania. They save up for that, and they don't have anything unless they go save up for Saudi Arabia. I would love to see Brock Lesnar guy go to Saudi Arabia and see him there, see if he would plan a trip there. But
he will. How can he afford it? I have no idea. But
now this is Tony Khan has a chance to step up here and maybe start taking away that fan because WWE has set themselves open while they went for the money. They set themselves open for something in the States because they're going to be on around in the afternoon, right? Whether it's 2 nights of Mania, whatever, they're going to be on in the afternoon. There's going to be something needed at night. So if you're Tony Khan, AEW Revolution, make it a weekend, put it in Texas, in Chicago, right? Make it a 2-night affair, a 1-night affair, and you have a convention around that. Tony Khan in the media call for All Out said he is looking into doing that in 2027. And I think at first I was like, sure, just call on Tony and he'll open up his pockets and he'll do it. But all he's got to do is move a pay-per-view into that spot and it's no biggie. I think it's a great time for AEW to try to take some of those fans away, the fans that feel like WWE has turned their backs on them because now they're all about the money. Do you think that this is an opportunity for AEW to take some of those fans away from WWE?
Yeah, I think it's an amazing opportunity for AEW, especially Tony Khan. But from my belief of what Tony does right now, I think right now from this point on to 2027, a lot of work has to be done. Now, I could be wrong and really be cynical about this when I say it, thinking that, when I look at the current product now, what AEW is doing, it's more for, people who are just specifically into that demographic. I've mentioned that before to you. So can you open it up to a wider audience right now? Because he's really kind of just showcasing it to the fans that kind of want those dream matches, those scenarios that you don't always see, that you can't do on a consistent basis. And listen, I'll admit some of the storylines they've done recently have, everything that Tony Storm's been doing right now has been complete and utter fire. So that works. But can you start doing that consistently enough where do you have the talent to build it up? Now, AEW's been known for, using or exaggerating the thing of the 4 pillars and the talent, the young talent you have there. If by that time in 2027, you can build off of that rather than ex-WWE stars, who knows if they'll still be there in 2027, there's a huge opportunity for AEW, despite the fact that it might not be doing so well right now and people want to talk about ratings and things like that. It is a tremendous opportunity for Tony and AEW to be that bridge like you talked about. Now, when you say they're losing fans or they're, yeah, I understand. Yeah, they're pricing people out, but these are the same fans too. And listen, it could reach a point from this point on, 2027. Hard to believe to think that far ahead, but it could be so priced out right now where you're 100% right. All of a sudden, people are going to feel betrayed. Not that they don't feel kind of that way already, and say, this is just way too much. I can spend 3 or 4 nights watching an AEW event for the cost for just one night of a WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia or whatever the case might be, whatever PLE you're talking about.
Right now, they might not feel it, but when you head to maybe November of 2026 and you start feeling that WrestleMania season and you start that excitement that you're like, oh, where I'm going to travel, where I make the plans to go, and you don't have anywhere to go this year, that's when WWE is going to feel it because I think that they did not consider or heavily consider making the decision knowing that they leave themselves wide open for them to be counter-programmed by AEW. So we've had WWE counter-program AEW. We're going to have that same situation on Saturday. So why not AEW do that to WWE? And I think that when maybe right now there's not that vibe that we don't need this thing from Tony to save the wrestling landscape in 2027. But as we head closer to WrestleMania in Saudi and we have that void here, I think that's where the fans are going to be like, you know what, enough is enough. And listen, WWE's a machine. They probably won't feel it, but They'll start feeling it once those families, because family is not just one, it's 2, 3, 4, or 5 people, and that's that next generation. And AEW could pull in a good amount of fans in their favor, I think.
Listen, I think it's a calculated risk. I think WWE is understanding what they're doing here. You could think maybe it's more of an arrogant move because 1 year off, it's not going to happen. Like I said, an opportunity for AEW, an opportunity for Tony in this scenario. But I think they're willing to accept that calculated risk, thinking that they do this in Saudi Arabia once, or let me say it correctly, Saudi Arabia, not mutter my words there, once, and come right back, and then all shall be forgiven. So we'll see. Again, it's a calculated risk. It's a business move for them in terms of money and finance. So I don't think they're thinking of the long-term effect it might have. But again, a huge opportunity for Tony, AEW, or any other company besides AEW that want to take advantage of this. And here's an opportunity in 2027. Let's see what happens.